Welcome back to Classic Game Room Broadcasting from the Intergalactic Space Arcade, and I'm here with TJ talking about a game you may have heard of called Final Fantasy X on the PlayStation 2. And TJ, you've played every Final Fantasy game, probably numerous times.
Yes.
What do you think of this one? Is it worth getting for fans of the series?
Well, my problem with Final Fantasy X is that I don't really like swimming. And in this game, you do way too much swimming. The mechanics are nice, the plot is meh, and water.
So you must be a huge fan of the movie The Abyss.
No, not at all.
Well, see, I disagree with you there. The Abyss is an awesome movie, but...
Johnny Mnemonic.
You know my weakness now. It's like kryptonite. Well, what can viewers expect to take away from this game? It's on the PlayStation 2. This would be the first PS2 Final Fantasy release,
It was.
right? So obviously it would look better than one of the PlayStation 1 games.
It certainly is pretty. It largely has to do with how open you are to dealing with what amounts to 40 or so hours of daddy issues.
Well, start from the beginning here. What's the plot? What's the gameplay like in Final Fantasy X, and how does it differ from some of the other bigger ones like Final Fantasy 7 or 9?
Well, the plot, quite unfortunately, is that you're a professional athlete, loved by all, whose father kind of disappeared mysteriously 10 years ago, and then you disappear in much the same way. You travel through a ruined land that you can't quite identify, and whenever you say where you're from, people just look at you funny and think you're dealing with a bad case of amnesia. You find out that the only real connection between what you know to be true and what is the case now is sports. Blitzball. It's all religion and blitzball.
Now, what's the gameplay like in this one?
A whole lot better than the plot would allow you to digest. They've actually refined the entire elemental mechanics of Final Fantasy down to just 4 elements: fire and ice and lightning and water, and that's all you have to deal with through the entire game.
Turn-based combat, like you like normal?
It's turn-based combat, but it works on a kind of pacing system. There's actually, if you look at the right side of the screen there, a lineup of who's going to act when, and you can actually interject any of your party members to kind of swap out in the middle of combat. It's a really, really cool mechanic that has never been returned to since then, except in Monachemia for the PS2, but that's on another page entirely.
I get the sense you're being critical about this one.
Quite. And it wouldn't be so bad if I just disliked the game. But the mechanics are really fun. It's just that I don't want to have to deal with Tedious always complaining about his abandonment issues. Yes, I rename him to Tedious every time I play the game because that's how I feel.
Is it worth getting for fans of the series and for fans of JRPGs in general?
Certainly, if only to see how well the mechanics are pulled off.
PlayStation 2 release. Should be fairly affordable.
You can find it pretty much everywhere because they made a bajillion copies of it.
Now, did they improve the series with 11?
Well, that's going down a...
I love
You
it when
wanna
I
go
make,
down there-
I love
that
it when I
rabbit
make
hole?
his head hurt by asking him questions.
You don't want to know how many years I've spent in 11. That's in-game time years.
Does your life slow down when you play Final Fantasy games? Are you really 412 years old now?
Yes.
It's like that Star Trek episode. You've lived another life in a different world. And then all of a sudden, no, I'm here. I'm TJ. I'm not TJ. He's TJ. But if I was TJ, I'd be surprised and probably playing Final Fantasy right now.
And I still never finished my Gungnir.
Did they have any special add-on things for this game?
Well, there was Final Fantasy X-2, the first direct sequel to a Final Fantasy game, and what most people just describe as Charlie's Angels with fantastic JRPG mechanics.
Well, that sounds awesome.
it kind of is.
When are we playing that one?